This is Rappler presents HIPE Stories, a show about high-impact Pinoy entrepreneurs. In partnership with Rappler, Endeavor Philippines brings you the entrepreneurs who dream big, scale up, and pay it forward here in the Philippines. I'm Manny Ayala, and today's guest is not exactly someone you'd expect to see in a show about entrepreneurs. He's a musician of international fame, a 6-time Grammy Award-winning artist, but his story is the classic entrepreneur story, full of big dreams, obstacles, grit and courage, success, and importantly, a desire to pay it forward. Please welcome to the show, Apple the App, the co-founder of the Black Eyed Peas. Welcome to the show, Apple.
Thank you for having me.
So, whenever we meet entrepreneurs, one of the first things we like doing is we like to ask them, what's your origin story? Right? Where did you come from? How did this all come to be? So, I think much of the world probably doesn't know the very beginnings of your origin story.
Okay.
But maybe you can just share that with us.
Yeah, okay, a little bit of history.
Yeah.
I was born in Sapang Bato, Angeles City. Come from a farming family. And so, I grew up farming.
You spent time in the fields farming?
Yeah, so, I would tag along with my grandfather.
Yeah.
And he would just, I was the designated Calabao driver. Because, you ride them on their back.
Okay.
So they don't stray away.
Yeah.
So that's how you feed the Calabao.
And there's no saddle, right? You just
No.
get on the back.
No, just get on the back.
And how do you control that thing?
They have a tali.
Yeah.
And then it's, on their horn and in their nose.
Yeah.
And so you want to make a right, you tug on the left.
Yeah.
You want to make a left, you tug on the right.
Yeah.
Stop, you pull back.
Yeah.
I grew up in Sapang Bato, tagging along with my grandfather farming. And
Siblings? You got a lot of siblings?
yes, I have four brothers and 2 sisters.
Wow. Big
Yeah.
family.
Big family.
I think if memory serves me correctly, ikaw yung kuya.
Yep.
Right? You're the kuya.
Ako ang panganay.
All right.
Yeah.
A lot of responsibility. Huh?
Yeah. And so, I guess, I grew up in the entrepreneur family without even knowing it,
Oh, really?
We had a sari store.
Okay.
My mom, she was very resourceful.
Yeah.
I remember she would buy like a bottle of toyo or oil.
Yeah.
And then she'd make her own sachets, right?
Oh.
She got this clear plastic.
Yeah.
And I was the closer of these little sachets. Like we had a candila.
Wait, so kasama ka in the operation?
Yes.
Yeah, all right.
So, it's kind of like, I guess I grew up from a entrepreneur family without even knowing it. Because the way we saw it was more like survival shit,
Yeah.
So, I would, to make extra allowance,
Yeah.
I would pump water,
Okay.
and then with the yung mga timba, and then the bamboo
Right,
in
bamboo
between.
pole, okay.
And then I deliver in houses, in different houses, and
But you get paid by the bucket or something?
yeah,
Like that?
like
Magkano?
like 50 cents per
For
timba
but for the
or for bucket.
yeah.
So that's how I would make my extra, allowance, and also delivering charcoal. My stepfather at the time used to take me to make charcoal,
Okay.
and then we would package it in these little packages, and I would deliver it around Sapang Bato.
Wow.
All the palenques, the mga small tindahan
Yeah.
for cooking. And so,
And was that was your spending money, or would you like put it into the family pot?
yeah, I would save it
Yeah.
and then add it to the family pot, you know.
Oh, cool.
And you know, that's
So early days.
yeah.
Okay.
You know, I guess I was entrepreneur. You know, I'm an entrepreneur without even knowing it.
Yeah.
You know, by being resourceful and through survivorship.
That's right. That's right.
And I used to then I would tag along with my grandfather when we would harvest. And he would go to the market late. I remember like at 2 a.m. To meet other farmers, and they would like exchange like goods and to replant things.
Okay.
And so I used to tag along at like 2 to 3 in the morning with my grandfather, just to help
2 to
out.
3 in the morning.
Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of early.
And I was like, and so it was weird because I was excited to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it was like, you know, it was harvest time, and then you get to meet other farmers, and I was like really into it without even like, you know, come to think back now.
Yeah.
I used to enjoy doing it, like even tagging along with my grandfather, taking off the, you know, to have better crops, you have to take off the mow in between the crops, you know?
Yeah.
And even planting kamote and kahoy to kamote to corn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So childhood in the Philippines, then how'd you end up in the U.S.?
So my mom discovered this foundation called Pearl S. Buck Foundation, where they support abandoned Mauritian kids. And what they do is you get sponsors from the U.S. You know, you've seen those commercials like, hey, send 75 cents to a kid in a third world country, you know. So I was in one of those programs, and in return, you get to write a thank you letter and show your grades and all the school supplies, groceries, and receipts. And you go to the agency, you take photos, and you write a thank you letter. And, you know, in my thank you letter, I would apologize to my to Mr. Hudgens, which is my adopted father.
Oh, Joe, right? Is it Joe Ben?
Joe Ben Hudgens. And, you know, I would tell him, I would apologize. I'm sorry, Mr. Hudgens, about my math grade. I know it's very low because I have a condition called nystagmus. It's a rare condition, and I cannot see the board. I can't copy, jot down lectures, so I'm always having to play catch up with the rest of the class, you know. So by telling him that story, I got the opportunity to go to the U.S. So we went to Universal. We went to the U.S. in 1986. We went to Jules Stein, top ophthalmologist in the U.S. And you know, come to find out, I needed to be under 7 years old to fix my my condition.
It's too late, in other words.
So it was it was too late. And you know, during our breaks, visiting doctors, we'd go to like Disneyland and Universal Studio. And as a kid, you know, going to Disneyland and Universal Studio, I'm like, this is America. I want to stay forever. You know, I used to watch Knight Rider. I got to see Kit, the car. I got to like interact with the, you know. And I was like, Mr. Hudgens, can I stay longer? Or can you adopt me, you know? And he was like, well, son, your visa is only for 2 weeks, and we'll see. We'll talk to the Philippine government and your mother, see what we could do, you know? So send me back to the Philippines, and then about a few months later, he started the processing of the adoption paper.
Wow. I have to say that's one trait we see in very successful entrepreneurs, right? Daring to ask, right? Because what's the worst that can happen? They say no, right?
Yeah. And I always had that like mentality of like, you know, I guess it's like an OFW mentality. It's like, this is the moment, like, you know, this is the moment that you could like improve your family's life. And a better life, you know. So as a kid, you know, I mean, it was the shiny thing that got me interested was Disneyland, and but you know, behind there was that like, you know, this is my opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, I was old enough to like to be able to go back home to remember my family. So and then he processed the papers. 3 years later, you know, I was approved. But before that, I was like, Mom, how am I gonna converse with people when I get to the U.S.? You know, I don't know how to speak English, you know?
You were 14 at the time, right?
Yeah, like 11, 12.
Okay.
And she's like, you'll get it in a month, you know, read the dictionary. So I was like, just learning how to just translate words without even how to compound sentences yet, you know?
Yeah.
So, and I remember I was nervous about that. And so I would just study and like learn as much English as much as I can without having a nosebleed, you know?
Probably some big words in there too, right?
Yeah. And so, then I got to the U.S. and she was right, you know?
Yeah.
After a month, I started like talking, and then about a month later, Will was like, hey, you should rap with me. You know?
Wait, how did you meet Will in the first place?
So when I got to the U.S., my adopted father was best friend with Will.i.am's uncle.
Oh.
My dad was a lawyer and he was paralegal. And before I was enrolled in school, I had a week before enrollment.
Yeah.
And you know, a kid from the Philippines had no friends, so they're like, Will's uncle suggested Will's mom to babysit me till I was enrolled in school.
Yeah.
And and coincidentally, she has a kid the same age as Alan. At least he has someone to play with, you know?
Okay.
So, you know, then they take me to East LA.
Yeah.
They take me to East LA, to Will's house, culture shocked. I was sitting on the couch. You know, I'm like, oh my God, please nobody talk to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how to reply. And finally, Will came down and he told me the story. He was kind of pissed that he had to stay home to hang out with this kid he doesn't even know.
Yeah.
Because he had a new girlfriend in school.
Yeah.
So now he has to miss a few days hanging out with his girlfriend to hang out with this non-speaking kid from the Philippines, you know. So finally, you know, we started talking and he's like, are you hungry? You know? I was like, yes. And so that was our first conversation, you know, and then he offered me, I remember he offered me cereal.
Yeah.
You know, cereal and then with liquid in it, which was milk.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand it. I was like, why am I eating chips with milk? You know? I was like, what is this thing, you know? So, and
walang ganun sa Angeles, ah.
Yeah, walang cereal noon sa Pampanga. And then next was peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
Yeah.
That was still kind of awkward, you know?
Yeah.
I used to just eat cocoa jam and pandesal, you know?
Yeah.
In between, margarine, cheese whiz. So that was kind of, you know, I had to get used to that.
Okay,
and that's how we met. And then finally he's like, so, like, you're from the Philippines? What do you do there? I've never heard of that place, you know? It's like, oh, you know, I go to school, I go farming, I take care of water buffaloes, and I break dance. It's like, you have a pet bison? It's like, yeah, you know, I take care of water buffaloes, and then I break dance. It's like, what? You know how to break dance? It's like, yeah. He's like, show me some moves, you know? So before I left Philippines, I saw the Running Man on the Pepsi commercial.
Yeah.
A Michael Jackson Next Generation Pepsi commercial. And there was a guy doing a move, running in place. And so Will was like, yeah, I just learned this move called the Running Man. And it's like, show it to me. So, I had to get up. So I was like, He's like, yo, you're doing it too hard, chest is too out,
Yeah.
You gotta make it cooler, like, put a vibe to it, And the rest is history.
Yeah.
Well, and then.
So you guys became best friends shortly after that.
And after that, I used to go to Will's house.
Yeah.
Now he comes to my house every weekend.
Yeah.
And that, from then on, it never stopped.
Okay.
Until now.
Okay. So when did this idea to become a performer start? When did that happen?
Well, it's a long story to get to wanting to be a musician.
Yeah.
So one day Will was like, we've been dancing together, we've been practicing and stuff. And he was like, one day he's like, yo, you should rap with me. I was like, rap? I'm like, I could barely speak English, man.
But you knew what rap was.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You've been exposed to it already. Right?
Yeah, I already knew what it was,
Yeah.
but growing up in the Philippines, being blind,
Yeah.
I was timid, I didn't want to be in front of like crowd or anything. I was the kid that used to hide in the back of the class, and I never wanted to be called.
Yeah.
Because then I had to read the board. And so it's like one day he's like, you should rap with me. I was like, okay. So he's like, I'm gonna put on some beats and let's practice. We're just gonna practice freestyling, And so, we put on the beats and, Will would go, my name is Will, 1X, flex 1 on the right leg center, Then I'm like, he's like, just say whatever on top of your head, and make it rhyme, So the beat came on, right? And I'm like, Abakada ega ilaman na ng o para sa tauaya. Right? He was like, woo! Yo! That was dope, man. I knew you had it in you, right?
Yeah.
It's like, that was dope. What did you say? I was like, the ABCs in Tagalog. But then, that kind of like, that spark.
Yeah.
I knew that I was able to carry a tune and place words on beats. And I was like, oh yeah, I could do that. And then I started writing, right? Okay. And then I started practicing writing. And then I started writing, and I remember, if you listen to the first Black Eyed Peas album, I didn't realize I was the first vocal on the Black Eyed Peas album,
Okay, all right.
And then I'm getting my penmanship, I'm getting really good. And I remember writing this rap. It was the first rap on the Black Eyed Peas album. Focus on this, the seductionist. More than lyricist in this rap metropolis, more like an activist. We give it to you all. Presentation will make you have a ball, right? And Will was like, what the hell? How do you know those words? How do you know about you're seductionist? I've never heard that before, I was like, oh, I got it from the dictionary. And so, by reading the dictionary.
Mom was right. Moms are always right.
Yeah. And thank you, Mom. Nakala salamat. My vocabulary in writing was, I had a lot in my head.
Yeah.
And then, so it was like, yo, let's form a rap group.
Wait, but you said you did these recordings for the first album.
Yeah.
But before them, how did you even get from breakdancing to rapping, right?
And so we started dancing together. I started rapping, and then Will was like, "Yo, we gotta find a manager. We gotta find a manager."
Because you were rapping in public?
Huh?
You were doing it in public when you were rapping?
Yeah, we would actually practice at this spot called the SIPA. It was an after-school program.
Yeah.
It was a Filipino center called SIPA, and that's where we would go and practice.
Oh.
And that's where we did our first shows.
Yeah.
In the Filipino community center.
Cool.
And then, you know, I started meeting the Filipinos. They would invite me to like Filipino house parties.
Yeah.
And I would invite Will.
Yeah.
And that's where we would perform.
I see.
At Filipino parties.
Got
you
it.
got started.
That's where you got your start.
Yeah.
Performing in front of Pinoys.
Yeah.
All right.
And then, you know, we couldn't afford, and then, so now we're like, yo, we got to start like dressing like our style, you know, to like differentiate us from other rappers.
Yeah.
So we couldn't afford like the clothing we wanted to wear. So we would go to thrift stores and we would get like old clothing, like 70s with big collars and then these jackets, and we would cut off the sleeves and make our own style. And then even our pants, we would like cut off extra fabric and make it flare out. So that's how we would created our looks. And we couldn't afford to buy things, so we made it, you know? And then we even, as far as, we were like, yo, we're starting to make clothes. Let's go to LA Trade Tech for fashion design.
Yeah.
So we enrolled and we went to LA Trade Tech. And then we got into class. And now it's like everything is coming back full circle, like how I was in school, right?
Yeah.
So now you have to learn how to draw a face.
Yeah.
And then me and Will were sitting in the back and I was like, I can't see the board, you know?
Yeah.
And Will was like, you know, and then finally he realized, and I was like, I can't see the board, you know? And then Will was like, you just want to get out of here and make music? I was like, yeah, let's do that. And so we walked out, and then we never looked back, and we recorded at our friends' bedrooms, closets, wherever we could create a demo that we could a demo package so we could give to record company and shop it, you know. And then, you know, back then it was predominantly like gangster music. That's what everybody wanted in LA, you know. So our stuff was like hip hop, breakdancing, positive, you know.
I think that's an important point as an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're thinking about a product, you want something that's unique. And I think if I look at what you guys were doing, you had gangster rap was mostly what was out there. You guys had a more kind of positive, kind of happier vibe, right? Just a less dark.
Yeah, we were inspired by, you know, our heroes, Tribe Called Quest, De La Soul, and they were just making like hip hop music, breakdancing, you know, and that was where our influence.
I saw one article that referred to what you guys did as alternative rap, something like that.
Yeah, we called it. Well, that's what they're labeled. That's what they started labeling us, alternative rap, because it wasn't your usual, you know, gangster flexing and stuff. We were more like, you know, wordplay and breakdancing. So and so we were shopping, and you know, they were like, you know, this is cool. This sounds cool. It's vibey. But it's not like it's not tangible enough, you know? And Will was like, yeah, they were telling me it wasn't tangible enough. I'm like, damn, I didn't read that one in the dictionary. Where is tangible? And then, you know, we were like, oh, something that you could grasp on, you know? And then, so, you know, that I'm getting like lost right now, but
okay lang. So it was really, you know, your journey, right? As a musician, you started doing these recordings.
Yeah, and so and also we would go to like to showcase our music when we were, you know, when the record company weren't like feeling our vibe. We would go to colleges. At lunch, we would perform at colleges at lunchtime, or like break time from UCLA to USC, UC Irvine to all the colleges across, you know, Southern California, and And when we finished the show, we would get everyone's addresses.
Yeah.
And then we would mail them the flyer for the next show.
Yeah.
And then that's how our crowd started getting bigger.
I see.
And then the record company was like, "Hey, who are those kids? I mean, they're filling up a club, 1,000 capacity club. Who are these kids?
Yeah, yeah.
And they were like, "Yo, you still have our demo in your desk, check it out,
And that's how you met Eazy-E, right? Or no?
So we were performing at Filipino parties. We were getting popular in the Filipino scene, right?
Yeah.
And then a friend of ours was like, "Yo, you guys are popular in the Filipino scene. You got to go to Hollywood to be like, to be known worldwide. You got to go to this club called Ballistics.
Yeah.
That's where everyone goes, like the Far Side, Leonardo DiCaprio to all different type of artists, in LA. And it's like, you got to go there. They have a rap battle and a dance contest, Like you go there, that's how you get known,
Yeah.
And so we got there, and Will joined the MC battle.
Yeah.
And then I joined the dance battle, and we started meeting people, and Will started winning consecutively in the rap battles, and then we would take care of the dance floor too. And then one day we were performing there, an A&R from Ruthless Records was there.
I
guess
see.
kind of like, scoping and stuff. And he's like, "Yo, you guys are dope. I want to introduce you to my boss.
Yeah.
You guys should come to the office on Monday."
Yeah.
And then we took the meeting, and then when we got there, and it was and then when he introduced us to his boss, and guess who it was? Eazy-E.
Yeah.
And then when it was weird because it was a gangster label,
Yeah.
but Eazy-E as an entrepreneur, he saw something in us beyond like releasing gangster music,
Yeah. He saw something unique.
Yeah, something unique.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then he would like have us perform at a gangster function with our like 70s clothing.
Yeah.
And then they would throw like bottle caps at us and stuff like that, dodging my rapping. But he didn't care. He was still kept us, performing at his functions. And then, until he passed.
That's right. That's right.
And then until he passed, Ruthless Records went to a halt.
Mm-hmm.
And we couldn't continue with the name legal-wise.
What were you called back then?
We were called At-Ban Clan. At-Ban, A-T-B-A-N.
Yeah.
A Tribe Beyond a Nation.
A Tribe Beyond a Nation. Okay.
Yeah.
At-Ban Clan.
And we couldn't proceed with that name for legal issues.
Yeah.
And we're like, yo, let's just start another group.
Yeah.
Start fresh, start big, and then we were just kind of like sitting around. We would do this for like days, just like, Blue Unit.
Blue Unit?
Yeah, when blood is blue, right?
Yeah,
Or
yeah.
Blood Brothers,
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of corny, like beans and rice. Like, it's kind of cool, but nah, it's like, and then we had a production name where we make beats for other people, like other production, and then we use Black Eyed Peas, and we're like, how about Black Eyed Peas? Yeah, that's pretty dope, It's kind of like gives you that like Red Hot Chili Peppers, like Black Eyed Peas, and we're like, that's it, Black Eyed Peas.
Oh, I thought it was for Black-Eyed Filipino. Black-Eyed Peas.
And then the meaning came later. Black Eyed Peas is cooked in the beginning of the year in the South to bring good luck throughout the whole year.
I see.
And it's soul food.
Yeah.
So we make music from the soul, Black
right.
Eyed Peas.
Nice.
We're like, that's it, you know?
Nice.
Yeah, so,
You know,
and now I'm rapping with like, and then we made this first song called Merry Mother Effing Christmas with Eazy-E.
Yeah.
That was my first, like, you know, I'm like, holy shit, I'm really doing this now. You know, I've only been in the US 89, 90, 91, 92.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, you know, like, I can't believe I'm rapping with Eazy-E, you know? I used to just listen to NWA in a basketball court in the Philippines growing up. And now
At the
I'm
stage,
like,
were you selling records? Were you selling albums? Were you seeing success?
with Eazy-E?
Yeah.
No, so, you know, we weren't able to release the record.
Oh.
And it's still unreleased till these days.
Okay. Yep.
It's just out there.
So what was the next thing, right? So now you're Black Eyed Peas.
Yeah, so Black Eyed Peas, you know, had to start all over.
Yeah.
All over again. And then, you know, the story I told you about having to perform at colleges, now this is the Black Eyed Peas time.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we started doing club shows, and our crowds are getting bigger. And now the record companies start coming to our show.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Sony would be there.
Yeah.
Inscope would be there.
Yeah.
And then there was like a bidding war after that, you know. And then we finally took a meeting with Interscope
Yeah.
and Sony.
Yeah.
And Sony, they offered us a lot of money, you know. They offered us about, you know, $1 million.
Yeah.
And then we took the meeting with Interscope. You know, Jimmy Iovine was like, "Yeah, I heard about, you know, your deal with Sony, you know. But, you know, I really want you guys to sign with Interscope. And I'm not gonna give you as much as Sony. I'll give you half of that. But what I'll promise with that contract, you'll always be able to put out music." And so as you know, as kids, we're like, $1 million, or because you could have easily gone for the big money, right?
How old are you at this time?
Like 20 something.
Okay. Early
And
20s.
then, as you know, as kids, I guess this is what that entrepreneurship kicked in. You know, you're like, you know, you do one bad record with that much money. That's probably the last record you ever make, right?
Yeah.
And then this option sounds better. You know, we get to try a few times. You know, as an entrepreneur, you have to fail a few times to figure things out, you know?
Yeah.
So we took the lower money to be able to make more music.
A wise decision, right? So these decisions, I'm assuming that you and your co-founder, will.i.am, would discuss it, right?
Yes.
How do you guys make decisions together? Is it an easy process?
Yeah, well, you know, but after we took the meeting and we're like, so what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? You know, we're like, you know, we could get a lot of money and that's it,
Yeah.
or take less money and we be able to make a lot of music.
Right.
I'm like, you know what? Sorry, store. You could, you know, you package it up, you could sell more, you know?
Yeah. Oh, very clever.
So, I'm like, let's go for that. And we're like, all right, let's go.
You know, that's a very interesting parallel to a lot of startups who, you know, when financiers come, right?
Yeah.
They say, I'm going to offer you this or this. And we always say, make sure the investor is a value-added investor, right? Money's one thing, but you know, smart money is quite a different thing.
Yeah.
Right? So not all money is the same.
Yeah, it's not all about money. And what we did is we actually created a relationship with our boss, you know, with Jimmy. You know, it's not, we weren't just like working together, but made sure we had a relationship, checking up on him, you know, just like I would check on a friend.
And those are the best venture capitalists, right? It's the ones that actually have a strong relationship with the founders.
Definitely, because there was a merger happen, right?
Yeah.
I think it was with Inscope and another company.
Yeah.
And they were dropping artists left and right.
Yeah.
And that relationship saved us from that merger, because Jimmy was like, oh, well, I'm keeping my guys,
Yeah. So at what point did you feel, so there comes a moment in the entrepreneur's journey where you think, I have what they call product market fit. I'm producing something and man, I found a market. I'm onto something. When did that moment come for you guys? Like, we're onto something big, Will.
I felt that when we wrote Where's the Love. That really struck in people's,
That was
hearts.
2003, right?
Yeah, 2003. Yeah. And that song was actually a gift, We were recording our album in Bodega Bay, and then 9/11 happened.
Yeah.
And we were due out for a tour. And we're like, dude, think buildings are blowing up. Should we still go on tour?
Yeah.
And, we're like, you know what? Yeah, let's still do it. I think this is the moment where we provide like therapy for people during these times, you know what I mean? Like 9/11. And so we proceeded to went on tour. And that was that day, there was planes are still going off and stuff. I mean, the night before, and now we have to cross Golden Gate Bridge,
Yeah.
So that's like a monumental place where, the terrorists would want to target.
Yeah.
And we're like, all right, press on the gas and go, Just like,
Yeah.
Then we went on tour, and then we did the tour. We saw like, how dark was U.S. at that time.
Yeah.
And then we went back home, and then we wrote Where's the Love.
Yeah. Wow. That's
So
cool.
I think that was like the gift of doing that duty.
Yeah.
And that was the exchange. And then when we wrote Where's the Love, it hit like worldwide.
Yeah. So in the entrepreneur journey, we often talk about something called the inflection point. You're making steady progress, and one day something happens. You're like, boom, okay, you're gonna go and grow exponentially. Was that?
Oh yeah,
that was the
because so
point.
we were, we got signed. Now we were going on tour, right?
Yeah.
We're opening up for like our heroes, Public Enemy, Busta Rhymes,
Yeah.
Wyclef,
Yeah.
and we're like, yo, we made it, man.
So back then, you thought that was it, right?
Yeah,
That's
we're like, yeah,
top of the mountain.
Because we were like, now we have a tour bus.
Yeah.
We made it.
Yeah.
And then we pull up to the parking lot,
Yeah.
and we started seeing like Busta Rhymes' bus and that Public Enemy. They had kitchen, and then the living room pulls out. We're like, our thing was squeaking, and so we're like, okay, we haven't made it. We got a long way to go,
Yeah.
And then we were the opening act, and sometimes there'll be 10 people there.
Yeah.
Sometimes there'll be none, but sometimes we get some people want to come early, and then we get a crowd.
Yeah.
But it didn't matter. We perform as like we had a million audience.
Yeah.
We would give it our all every show.
Yeah.
And by promoters, when they see that,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, this, I could add these kids in the next tour,
Yeah.
They're very entertaining,
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, you gotta kind of like, those are the sacrifices
That's
you
right.
gotta give until you it's like this until you get there, And now we're like opening up for No Doubt.
Yeah.
And then Macy Gray.
Yeah.
And then our own tour.
Right.
And then worldwide just kept
Would you
on
say
going.
there was a conscious decision between you and Will to dream even bigger than where you were? Because sometimes you can run something and say, I'm comfortable with this, right? This is cool.
Yeah.
But it seems like you guys expanded the dream somehow.
Yeah, we always try to like, all right, we always have like concepts in our head of like, all right, what's next? You know, we gotta reinvent ourselves. You know, we gotta think of like, and that's what we do with, you know, with our music. You know, we dream. We try to incorporate other music genres beyond hip hop. You know, you could take bossa nova and turn it into a Black Eyed Peas song. And even like, I remember being homesick when I got to the U.S. Right now, I'm staying for good.
Yeah.
After 2 weeks later, I'm like, homesickness sets in.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I want to go home now. You know, like it wasn't the shiny America. This is like reality check. That you know, and I'm getting homesick. I'm like, I asked my dad, I'm like, Mr. Hudgens, can you send me back home now? You know, it's like, well, son, you know, it took a while to process the papers, and you know, just focus on your education. You know, you'll be able to see your family, and once you get a job and have a career, you know. And then also to my best friend, to Will, you know, I'm like, yo, you know, I want to go back to my country now, like, you know, and you know, I miss my family, but Will kind of like, you know, gave me the, you know, encouraged me like, yo, don't worry about it. We're gonna make it. We're gonna make it one day, and then we're gonna go back to Philippines and perform it for your family, you know. And I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, cool. All right, let's rap again, you know.
Awesome.
So,
well, you know, your point in reinvention, right? That's a very important part of an entrepreneur's journey, right? I mean, you think about some of the most successful, enduring companies, right? They've reinvented over the years. I mean, just look at, you know, this thing. It's an iPad.
Yeah.
It started with a laptop. Sorry, it started with a desktop, which became a laptop, which became an iPhone, which became this, right?
Yeah.
So reinvention. And I just want to congratulate you on your recent release, right? You know, so now you're doing, you know, talk about what you're doing with SB19.
Yeah, so, you know, I'm doing, I'm collaborating more with Filipino artists.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be, you know, there's a lot of like amazing, talented Filipino artists, and SB is one of them. And, you know, I took notice during pandemic, you know, doing their thing, like something new from the Philippines, P-pop, you know. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. They're doing their own thing. Like, yeah, I'd like to collaborate. I would like to do a song with them.
Yeah.
And then reached out to them. And when I got back home one day, and I showed them the song, if they like it, you know. And yeah, they're like, yeah, we liked it. They liked it, and we recorded the song, and we just finished a music video a couple of days ago.
Nice.
That's on the way. And before that, I collaborated with Sandara Park.
Yeah.
You know, she's not Filipina, but she has a relationship with Philippines. She kind of spent her time here, learned how to speak Tagalog.
Yeah.
And I'm a
Pinoy na yan.
Pinoy na yan. And I learned how to speak. I'm a big, you know, I like K-pop too.
Yeah.
So
that's awesome.
We've collaborated in the past with Black Eyed Peas, with CL, one of the member in the group, and I've always, you know, I always see Sandara in Philippines in the rock clubs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, we should do a song together, you know? And then we'd always talk about that. And once again, pandemic made it happen. You know, a lot of things happen during pandemic. You know, you become really resourceful and like utilize, you know, everything around you.
You know, the typical endeavor entrepreneur story typically has 3 phases, right? There's the dream big phase.
Yeah.
Followed by the scale up phase. And then the last phase is something we call paying it forward, right? So we typically see our entrepreneurs who sort of climbed up the mountain of success, then beginning to nurture the next generation. So they're mentoring them, they're investing in them, they're sharing their networks with them, right? And to me, that whole story arc is very much your story arc. So at this point, I want to ask you about the paying it forward part, right? So let's start with The Voice. Tell me, how did you get involved with The Voice?
Well, yeah, The Voice, my best friend has been doing it in London.
Will I am.
Will I am.
Yeah.
And one day he comes home and it's like, yo, App, I've been doing this show called The Voice. You should do it too, but for Philippines, They got this they got this blind audition, I'm like, yeah, I'm blind. Sounds like I could do that, And then so I was like, you know what? I've always scared of TV.
Yeah.
Because of my vision and stuff like that, but somehow, like a reality show about singing, it kind of like it gave me the idea that I could discover other Filipino artists through this show.
Yeah.
That I could that I could produce and share to the world.
Yeah.
And so I said yes. Went back to Philippines, did a dry run, and we did a rehearsal. Then you have to make a comment after the singer sang.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see the contestant.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, everything's coming back. Hardships in school. Couldn't read the board. I'm like, it took me back. So I was like, and I hadn't thought of the screen under my chair. I was like, I can't do this. I can't. So I went back to the hotel. I was telling my team, I'm like, I don't know, guys. I think this is one of the things that and it's like, no, try it again. Tomorrow they'll have, they're still fixing everything. They'll have your monitor for you. So I went back the next day, did another rehearsal, and they had the monitor there. And, now I got comfortable. I'm like, okay, at least I could if I have nothing to say, I could comment on their clothing or their facial expression, how they're, And so I got really comfortable. And after a while, I stopped using the screen.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you know what? This is about singing.
Yeah.
Why am I so worried about seeing?
Yeah.
So, but, thank God I pushed myself again.
Yeah.
Again, to do that show. And because, now just like, my first thought was to be able to discover aspiring artists, and I was right. That's how I met J. Ray.
That's J. Ray, yeah.
And when she was finally free from her contracts, brought her to the U.S.
Yeah.
And I wanted to record her album and finally produced my first artist,
Yeah.
Brought her to the U.S. I was recording her in my room, and Will always comes in my room and just oh, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Then I had Jessica recording, and it's like, who's that? I'm like, oh, this is a girl I discovered on The Voice Philippines. It's like, oh, that's cool. You brought her here, And then Will took notice, and yo, we should have her. We should work on her music together.
Yeah.
And get her signed, So, she started doing backup for the Black Eyed Peas on tour.
Yeah.
And then now she's signed to Epic.
Yeah.
And she has her own
awesome,
album
That's awesome.
coming out,
Well,
and that's something I want to do, that took a while. That took a long time to do.
Yeah.
To for one artist,
Yeah.
And now we're trying to figure out where we could do that multiple times.
That's right.
And keeping the artists in the Philippines, growing the economy.
Right.
And not having to go
Yeah.
Outside of the country to make a living.
That is a natural segue to one of the other things you're doing, you have a foundation, right?
Yes.
And I think one of the things the foundation is doing is precisely trying to nurture this creative talent. You're doing something with the Tames Business School, I think.
Yeah, I've done a few things. We've gone from building school structures.
Yeah.
To we've had over 30 scholars.
Yeah.
That we put through college.
Congrats.
And we did the creative program, teaching creatives entrepreneurship, business.
That's with that business school, right?
Yeah, with Tames
Business School, yeah.
And recently we delivered 50 computers back in Sapambato High School with AI capabilities.
Right.
So the kids, they have their own tutor, AI tutor, and as well as they get credits once they go through the curriculum and a possible job at the end.
Right.
And then
you've also tied up, I think, with the Khan Academy.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. That was.
Tell me about that one.
Oh yeah. So Khan Academy reached out to us and they delivered the 50 laptops with the AI capability.
Okay.
And delivered Sapambato High School, and now we're starting on a next project where we would build a computer labs for abandoned immigrant kids like me, and also for the ITAS.
Yeah, awesome.
And then then there's the EV education.
Sorry, electric vehicle education. Tell me about that. That's with the ADB, right?
Yeah, we recently signed a MOU with ADB.
Yeah.
And we're on a research part of the project. Finding the right places to implement the project.
What's the objective of the project?
To teach EV education, from battery techs to retrofitting to it's training the workforce. We want to educate so they could participate in this new technology era. You know, we want to be able to fix our own cars, even make our own cars.
Yeah.
And also, with that knowledge, you could apply it to a advanced, healthy, green Philippines.
That's right.
From everything, not just cars, but from vertical farming, utilizing, technology. And
There's
upskilling the workforce.
Yeah.
We just don't want to be outsourced all the time.
That's right.
We want to we
create the value here, right?
Yeah, create the value here. We're providing the things for the battery, right?
Yeah.
The copper. What is it?
Copper.
And we should have a control in how we even be the first one to not just being outsourced, but we could apply that in our own country, make our own stuff.
There's another thing the foundation's doing. Back to your roots, agriculture, right? Farmers.
Yes.
Tell me about the farmers.
So I grew up farming, just like I said in the beginning. So I'm back into it again.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to make farming easier for farmers, right? Equipment, technology.
Yeah.
And so I was telling my team that, and they were researching, and we met some amazing, interesting people during the research, and we discovered this technology called Biochar.
So what's it called?
It's called Biochar.
Biochar.
Yeah. So you take biomass, woods, leaves, and you turn it into this charcoal.
Yeah.
And then that charcoal, now you could turn it into fertilizer.
Yeah.
Filtration, and if applied on paint, it cools down a classroom.
Yeah.
Very hot in the Philippines, because that might be the perfect place to apply. If you apply it on the roof, it blocks the sun rays.
Yeah.
And if you have a piggery, it takes the smell away. If you mix it with manure, that becomes fertilizer as well. And it also acts as a cleanup. In Philippines, there's a lot of, like coconut shells that turns into methane.
Yeah.
But if you turn that into biochar, it also cleans, and you can utilize it back into farming, regenerating the soil, bringing back all the millions of microorganisms, because we are what we eat,
Yeah.
So, and so we're spreading that technique around Philippines to farmers to make an extra income, and as well as helping the Philippines back into its healthy environment.
So you are a very busy man. You're releasing new singles, you're going on tour. Why do you do all this other stuff?
The other stuff is I do the other stuff is what I'm passionate about. These are the things that I love, that I like doing, that I've experienced, and I'm not an expert, but I have the passion, and then I got a great team to help me out. I'm the dreamer. I call them like 3 a.m. like, yo, how about a floating e-boats, and that could like protect like the reefs and like the ocean, and because I love my country, I want my country to compete against the world. I want Philippines the most, like, want to bring back exporting.
Yep.
And teaching our youth with these vast amount of technology, because that would not only we're upskilling, we're now they have the knowledge to invent, to create, to compete with the world.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, maybe to end this great conversation, talk a little bit about this emerging idea of yours for a new business, right? In the field of boxing.
Oh yeah.
I know that's kind of a work in progress, but I think it's a good place to end, since as a nation bringing fame to our country. Boxing.
I'm the most boxing fanatic connoisseur, like, and I've noticed every sport has their own clothing and their own like social, like, outfits and stuff like that. Basketball, baseball, football, tennis, golf. But we ain't got no fresh attire for boxing, So we should be able to rock some athleisure, cool clothing. That's boxing inspired, Philippines, we're very big on boxing. And beyond that, I want that clothing to be made here in the Philippines.
So when are we going to see this in the stores?
So we're just finishing our first sample, and we have a fashion show in September during Fashion Week in London. And awesome. My partner, he's also a Filipino entrepreneur. In the U.S. He created Essentials, and now we want to go back home and create something for us that's made in the Philippines, that's quality, boxing inspired.
That's awesome. Well, we wish you the best of luck with that. And to close, I'll just say Thank you. Thank you. You inspire us, right? You inspire us to keep on pursuing our dreams, to keep on trying to make a difference, and you inspire us to love our country, as deeply as you do.
Oh.
So thank you very much for coming to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat for having me. And, we can't do this alone.
Yeah.
So let's all work together.
Let's do it.
Let's bring back Bayanihan.
Yep. I've got a feeling that today's going to be a good day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Apple the App, Grammy-winning artist, budding entrepreneur, and cultural ambassador. Thanks for tuning in to Rappler Presents HIPE Stories. Follow HIPE on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Also, follow Rappler's YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok. If you want to continue this conversation, you can do so in the Money Chat Room of the Rappler Communities app. Download on your mobile by scanning the QR codes below. It's available for download on iOS and Android. Register for an account and click on the Communities tab and join the Money Chat Room. I'm Manny Ayala, and you've been tuned in to Rappler Presents HIPE Stories.